Hi, how's everyone doing? Thanks for getting me to 1,000 subscribers. I just saw that I crossed that last night, and that's a big deal for me, because 1,000 people is a lot for me. I never thought that would happen, and it's still hard for me to believe, but I'm very appreciative to everybody that's subscribed, and we're all on this journey together, for DC movies and getting the Snyder Cut. We're all going to see these movies, and we all are probably going to watch the Snyder Cut day one, so hopefully that comes out sooner rather than later. But what I want to talk about in this video is about an article from CBR.com, comicbookreview.com. Now, I've usually railed against these guys in the past because they have done nothing but give the DC EU haters and all those trolls, they do nothing but give them ammunition and fuel. And since November, since Justice League came out, they've done nothing but demean the Snyder Cut and say it doesn't exist. But all of a sudden, within the last week, they've turned their opinion. Thanks to Jay Oliva's tweets and stuff, they are starting to come around on the idea that the Snyder Cut does indeed exist. And the evidence is really hard to overlook. So about last week, they had an article talking about why the Snyder Cut exists. But just yesterday, they posted up this great article. And I thought I'd just read a couple paragraphs from it. And I'll put a link to it in the description, because this is by far the best article I've seen from CBR.com. And it's actually a nice meaty article. It's 2 pages. It's a nice little article. And it seems like they're fully behind the Snyder Cut. Or at least this writer is fully behind the release of the Snyder Cut. So I thought I'd just read a couple passages here. And here's the first one. Almost as soon as Justice League hit theaters last November, fans began to demand that the studio release a Whedon-free cut of Snyder's film, one without studio interference and reshoots. Although the existence of such a cut was deemed a myth for a good while, mainly by Comic Book Review, right? They were feeding into that narrative just as long as everybody else, right? But anyway, on to the thing. It was recently confirmed that the Snyder Cut does indeed exist. Something that we fans have known since November, right? Now they're catching up, which is a great thing. And I'm not trying to take the piss out of them, but it did take them a while to catch on, right? But continuing. Now there is only one sensible thing left for Warner Brothers to do. Give the fans what they want and release the Snyder Cut. And reading that on a comicbookreview.com website blew my mind. And this article was written by Ian Cardona. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but I gotta give him major props for putting this out, because we can't understate the importance of an article like this. Articles like this is what's going to get the Snyder Cut released, guys. Comic Book Review isn't the most influential website, but they do help shape the narrative of this DC universe and the movies, right? And of the Snyder Cut. And if they want Warner Brothers to release it, then that's going to bleed into other news sites like Collider and MovieWeb and maybe even Hollywood Reporter and Variety. All these movie sites are going to start coming around on the idea now that the Snyder Cut does indeed exist. It's something that we've all known forever, right? But it's finally they're starting to come around with this idea, and it's getting me hyped, because now that we got them talking about this, it's going to get more people talking about it. Because channels like mine, our reach is only so far, right? But with sites like Comic Book Review and Collider, Variety, their reach is huge. If they say something's a possibility, and they say that they want to see the Snyder Cut, you can be damn sure it's going to happen, right? Or you could be damn sure that Warner Brothers is going to get the idea. Because for the longest time, we DC fans and us Zack Snyder fans have been fighting against this idea that the Snyder Cut doesn't exist. Since November, that's the only counter argument we've ever gotten, is that the cut doesn't exist. And now, it's 100% confirmed it does exist. And the question is now, is Warner Brothers going to release it? And all we need for them to release it is fan support. And with articles like this from CBR.com, that's only more likely to happen, It's only more likely that people are going to change their opinions and come around on the idea and want to see a different version of Justice League. Because the Justice League in theater, it wasn't the worst film. People liked it. I mean, go look at the audience scores for it. They're not bad, They're pretty, middling. They're, average. But they're not, the worst film ever. But it's definitely not the best film ever. And anybody that liked Justice League, which is a good chunk of people, those people would be interested in seeing a different cut of the movie, for sure. And everybody that didn't like Justice League would also be interested in seeing a different cut of the movie, right? And I want to read one more passage from this article because it shows what Warner Brothers should do about this. So here it is. At this point, releasing Snyder's Cut can only be a win-win for Warner Brothers, which I totally agree with. On one hand, the release would make the studio more money on the property, which, considering the disappointing box office, should be incentive enough to give this a try, which I totally agree with. You know, the box office wasn't huge for Justice League. You can't lose any more money on it. I mean, you already lost some money on it. So, you know, what's the difference? Either you're going to lose a little bit more money or you're going to make a whole lot of money. So why not give it a try? And continuing with this passage, and it would either show that the studio was right all along or that it's willing to start anew for the next phase of DCEU. It's simple, really. If your fans want something, especially something that's already completed and ready to be released, which by all intents and purposes, it probably is close to being finished. Jay Oliva himself was saying 99% of the footage was shot, you know. All their storyboards were shot. So they have all the stuff on film. It's just a matter of polishing it and finishing it. That's all they need to do. But continuing, the smart thing is to give it to them and let them decide for themselves which version is ultimately the better one. And I've never agreed more with a fucking article from CBR than this one. This is like my favorite article they've ever written because they're saying point blank, Warner Brothers has nothing to lose. And they really don't by releasing this. They have nothing to lose. The worst thing that happens is that everybody sees that the Snyder Cut Justice League is not as good as the theatrical. That's the worst case scenario. That's the worst thing that can happen. The best case scenario is that people see the Snyder Cut is better and they start buying it more and Warner Brothers makes money. We already see that WB doesn't give a shit about continuity. And frankly, when it comes to DC Comics, continuity really doesn't matter. You make your own continuity. A lot of DC stories take place on different worlds, but they all involve the same characters and they all act the same. So that's really what the continuity is, that the characters act the same. So as long as the characters stay roughly the same, you could change anything you want about the movies. You don't have to worry about what came before or what's going to come after. As long as you make a great film, it doesn't matter what the hell you did in it. You know, it doesn't matter what the continuity is, as long as the movie's great. And with Justice League, it seems like the Snyder Cut of it is going to change a lot about the universe. You know, it is going to give characters other subplots that feed into their own movies. And maybe that's what WB wants to avoid. But at this point, you got so many fans that are clamoring for this. It's only a win-win to release this. Because if you release it to your fans, you look like the good guys. You look like you listen to your fans, right? You look like a company that gives the fans what they want, and people like that. Whether the Snyder Cut is good or bad is irrelevant. That alone is incentive enough. The possibility of making money is incentive enough. So I agree with comicbookreview.com. The best thing for Warner Bros. To do is to release the Snyder Cut. It's only a win-win for them. And I had so much fun reading this article. And I put it in the description, so definitely go read it for yourself. It's a great read. And let's see, guys. Like, it is more possible now than ever for the Snyder Cut to get released. I don't know if we're going to see it at Comic-Con, but, you know, I wouldn't put it past Warner Brothers, you know? It's a very low chance it's going to happen, but there's still a chance. But definitely don't get your hopes up that it's going to be at Comic-Con because it just doesn't seem like the time or place to release information like that. But still, Warner Brothers is getting the idea that the fans want to see this. A lot of us. More fans want to see the Snyder Cut than the Richard Donner Cut. You know what I'm saying? Already. So Warner Brothers knows the gold mine they're sitting on. And all we need now is just more fan support and more articles like this. This is the article I think that's going to start the trend in the media. And now the media is going to start asking for the Snyder Cut on our behalf. And I really hope that's the case. I really hope this is a narrative-changing article that's going to get every other media site to start reconsidering their stance on the Snyder Cut and start actually pushing for it. That way, we will get it a lot sooner. I mean, can you imagine if every media site from now on just starts talking about the Snyder Cut every so often, you know? There's going to be no excuse for Warner Brothers, and it's a great thing. And I usually don't like CBR articles or Screen Rant, or, you know, or various other sites, but if they start putting out articles like this, I'm going to start praising them because this is the kind of shit we need. This is the kind of stuff we need to get this Snyder Cut. But anyway, that's it for now. What you think of the article, let me know down below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.